Bonne Foi, Chapter 9. Monday morning saw me smiling in anticipation. I had left Bella alone for the rest of the weekend, trying to preserve some distance between us, but I had every intention of seducing her today. Biology dragged while I waited to see her. Of course, biology always dragged. Today was a riveting lecture on DNA. The only one really paying attention was the pre-med student in the front row. I arrived very early for sociology before the previous class in the room got out. I couldn't help it. I simply didn't have the patience to fill the time with anything else. Bella turned up a full 20 minutes before class started, but I couldn't summon the will to tease her about it because she was wearing a skirt. I don't know why it turned me on as much as it did. White and embroidered with little blue flowers, the skirt fell to her knees, a modest and innocent little thing. Maybe it was the knowledge that she'd put that skirt on for sociology class after she'd heard my fantasy of bending her over the front desk. I guess I wasn't the only one doing the seducing today. What was under the skirt, I wondered. I peered closely at the fabric. With my enhanced vision, I could just make out light blue panties. Innocent little panties under her innocent little skirt. Damn, she was good, and she probably had no idea. Very nice, I grinned, openly checking her out. The fitted tank top she wore hugged her breasts nicely. She was definitely coming with me after this class, whether she liked it or not. She blushed and came to lean on the wall next to me, across from the door to the classroom. "You're here early." "So are you," I pointed out, chuckling. "Hoping to score a good seat?" Bella laughed. "Yeah. There's this really cute guy I want to sit by, and I don't want the other girls beating me to him." "Funny," I said nonchalantly. "There's the girl I was hoping to sit next to." I leaned closer and said into her ear, "And she's wearing the skirt today that makes me want to rip her panties off and fuck her senseless." Bella shivered, and the heated flush spread down her neck and onto her chest. I smirked, satisfied with the job well done. "It's going to be impossible to sit through this class now." I smiled, sensing an opening. I'd planned to talk her into skipping the classes she had after this, but she really might as well skip this one too. "Why don't we play hooky?" I suggested, staying close, hoping to tempt her with my proximity. "There's no point," Bella said, shaking her head. "I have algebra right after this." "Skip it too," I urged. "No way! That class is hard enough for me when I actually go," Bella said, shaking her head vehemently. "I'll help you catch up," I wheedled. "Come on, Bella, live a little." She sighed, looking at me with pleading eyes. "Please, Edward, you know I have a hard time saying no to you." I laughed. "Bella, saying things like that only encourages me. Please, Bella. When else will we be able to spend some time together this week?" Bella's eyes softened, and I knew she was sold. "All right, but you have to help me with algebra." "Deal," I agreed, snatching up her hand. "Come on, let's get out of here." I wanted to sling her over my shoulder and run her to the car, but since that was an utterly stupid thought, I quashed the impulse and led her by the hand. I caught her smile out of the corner of my eye, and I knew that in spite of her initial reluctance, she was excited about this too. I tucked her into my car, aware that I probably looked like a kidnapper as I did this, and hurried around to the driver's seat. Just as I was turning the key in the ignition, I heard an unhappy gurgle from the direction of Bella's stomach. "Hungry?" I asked, amused. She blushed and shrugged. "I'm always hungry this time of day." "Then I'll take you out for lunch," I decided, already speeding toward the main street in town where all the restaurants and cafes were. "No, you don't have to do that," she protested quickly. "I never get to eat until later anyway. I'm used to it." I ignored her. I'm going to feed you, Bella, because you're going to need your energy when I get you alone. Besides, I went on, very aware of the way she'd caught her bottom lip with her teeth in anticipation. What's the point in skipping if you don't do it right? Okay, she acquiesced. And I'm paying, I said before she could try to get around it. But, no buts, I insisted. I invited you, I'll pay. I glanced over at Bella and saw her torn expression. She wanted to argue about it more. Bella, please, I have more money than I need, and you do not. Logic would dictate that I would be the one to pay for lunch. But I'm a grown woman, Edward. My finances aren't your responsibility, she said, frowning. Will you just let me take care of you? I sighed, even as I swiftly parallel parked in a single move that startled Bella. I just don't understand why you want to, she admitted after I cut the engine. I shifted in my seat to face her. How to answer that? Make up some relationship bullshit? Might as well be honest. If she realized my motivations, then all the better for her in the end. I'm a selfish creature, Bella. You're no good to me hungry, or unable to pay the bills for that matter. I want you around, and I'll do what it takes to keep you around. Bella's slow smile grew wide, and I knew she still didn't understand. She saw sentiment where there was only convenience. Oh, I could admit I was fond of her, but it was like the appreciation one had for a good book. I enjoyed exploring her world, unraveling her secrets, but eventually the book would end, and I would place her back on the shelf, satisfied. But what did it matter if she understood or not? My answer clearly pleased her, so I should be content with that. Bella had glanced out the window to see where we were. I love this place. How did you know? Lucky guess, I answered truthfully. I knew about every eatery in town from all the stray thoughts I'd picked up, and this one was supposed to be a casual and inexpensive without sacrificing quality. It would appease Bella somewhat to know I wasn't spending much for her meal. The cafe was self-seating, and I chose an intimate table in the back corner for us. Bella took her seat and shot me a smile before pursuing the menu. I glanced over one as well, for something to occupy myself. Given that human food held little interest for me, it wasn't long before I was bored with the menu and set it aside. Bella made her choice soon after, and a waiter who had been watching us swooped in immediately. He had his eyes on Bella, but fortunately for him, a pimply, geeky type, he seemed to understand she was out of his league. "What can I get for you?" he asked Bella. She ordered an iced tea and some kind of chicken wrap, a concept which I didn't understand. The wrap, as far as I could tell, was nothing more than a glorified sandwich, which was generally more expensive and less filling. Humans were so bizarre sometimes. No other animal felt the need to dress up their food and force it into more aesthetically pleasing forms that way. The waiter reluctantly turned to me, and I waved him off. "Nothing for me." Bella's eyes narrowed. "You're not eating?" "I'm not hungry," I told her. "But you don't eat breakfast. You shouldn't skip lunch too," she protested. "You're not anorexic, are you?" I laughed. "Do I look anorexic to you?" "No." Bella's eyes wandered over my arms and shoulders, and I couldn't help feeling a little smug at her appreciation of my body. Bella shook her head and refocused. "If you're not eating, then you shouldn't be paying for me. That's ridiculous." Why did she have to be so difficult about these things? Really, this was getting to be a lot of effort just to make sure her stomach wasn't growling while I fucked her. "I don't eat much, Bella. Just let me treat you to lunch, all right? Isn't that what boyfriends do?" I almost laughed, calling myself her boyfriend. I was far from a boy, and I certainly wasn't her friend. "All right," she gave in, shaking her head. "But let's not make a habit of this. I just laughed. After Bella ate, I drove her straight back to my apartment. That skirt was just too tempting to be ignored any longer. Frustratingly, Bella didn't seem to feel the urgency. She certainly took her time on the stairs to my apartment, and when I unlocked the door for her, she strolled in like she was just coming to borrow a cup of sugar. I didn't have any sugar, damn it. She had to know why we were here. After I shut the door, she turned to me with a carefree smile. "What did you want me to do?" What did she think I wanted to do, play checkers? I narrowed my eyes and prowled closer to her. "I believe I told you what I wanted to do earlier." "You did?" She appeared genuinely confused. I suppressed the need to roll my eyes and circled around behind her. "Yes, Bella, don't you remember? It had to do with your skirt." She tensed all over, and I knew she did remember. I grinned as I smelled the fresh flow of her arousal. Pressing myself against her from behind, I guided her to the nearest convenient piece of furniture, the piano. "Bend over," I instructed her, once her hips hit the edge of the instrument. She obeyed unquestioningly, and the animalistic side of me thrilled at seeing her so completely at my mercy. Bella flattened her upper body against the instrument, shivering at the coolness of the wood, and the scent of her arousal increased. Oh, she would be the death of me one day. With barely restrained excitement, I flipped up her skirt and got a good look at her cute little bottom and her cute little blue panties, with the little damp patch just over her crotch. I groaned and wasted no time in yanking the scrap of fabric down to pull around her feet, and then I couldn't resist dropping to my knees and leaning in to taste her. Bella gave a loud whimper when my tongue touched her folds. It spurred me on, and I lapped wildly at her seeping wetness, grazing her clit with every pass. After less than a minute of this treatment, her legs were shaking. I wasn't quite done tasting, but I wanted her to be upright when I took her, so I backed away. She groaned in protest. "Patience," I murmured, quickly unbuckling my belt and opening the fly of my jeans. My pants and boxers fell around my knees, and I entered her swiftly. Her gasp of shock at the unexpected penetration was lost as I set a fast pace. She was so tight this way, it was almost unendurable. I wasn't going to last long at all, and fuck, she was already coming, her muscles squeezed hard around me, and helpless to the sensation, I lost it. I buried myself as far as I could go inside her and came powerfully. Bella shuddered and sighed as I pulled away. "If that's how you react," she mumbled tiredly, "I'll wear a skirt every day." "Oh, please do," I agreed, drawing her body up and lifting her into my arms. I carried her into the bedroom. "What are you doing?" she asked, a little alarmed. "I didn't get to finish tasting you," I explained, as I placed her on the bed. Her eyes went wide, and I chuckled. Oh, how I loved teasing this girl. I wanted to keep Bella in bed all afternoon, and she held me to my promise to help her with algebra. It wasn't so bad. She was funny when she was confused. After that, I had to take her home. She needed to eat dinner, and she preemptively refused to let me feed her again, which was just as well, because I didn't think she would believe I still wasn't hungry, and then she would have to get ready for work. I was tempted to make good on my promise to pay her a visit, but I decided to restrain myself. I was not going to follow her to work every night like her little lapdog. Somehow, I passed the rest of the night without breaking down and searching Bella out. I was just so bored these days when she wasn't around. It was very frustrating. Between classes on Tuesday, I roamed the campus, hoping to pick up a trail of her scent to casually run into her and perhaps steal more of her time. By 10 in the evening, I had decided to seek Bella out. I couldn't stand it anymore. She should be done with work. The coffee shop closed at 9 p.m., not having enough demand from the college to stay open any later. Students in need of a caffeine fix any later were forced to go to the 24-hour mini-mart in town. When I got to her door, I could tell at once she wasn't there, but her roommate was, and her thoughts had not turned to the discontinuity of dreams yet. I knocked lightly. Who could it be at this hour? Angela wondered as she walked to the door. She was surprised to see me there. Hello, Edward. Bella isn't here. Oh, I made a show of disappointment. Do you know where she is? I was hoping to see her tonight. Yeah, she's in the library working on homework. She likes to hide in the back, she told me helpfully. She thought I was good for Bella. How ironic. Thanks, Angela, I grinned. She waved me goodbye as I left to hit the library. It occurred to me as I drove to the library that this would be all the much easier if Bella simply owned a cell phone. Then I could just call her to find out where she was instead of chasing her around campus. Of course, that would require I obtained a cell phone as well. There had never been a need for one before. Having resolved to make the purchase for the both of us tomorrow, I pulled up outside the library. I followed Bella's scent straight to the back, just as Angela had said, and she was fast asleep, slumped over her books. One of the pages was wrinkled under her cheek. She was mumbling something about non-fat, sugar-free lattes. I could admit I felt sorry for her. She was clearly exhausted, and judging by the amount of books and papers spread across the table she occupied, she was very much overworked. I sighed and crouched next to her to shake her carefully awake. Bella jumped and started, sitting straight up in her seat before her sleepy eyes focused on me. Edward, what are you doing in my room? I laughed. Bella, we're not in your room, we're in the library. And as to why I'm here, I came looking for you and found you passed out on your homework. I thought it best to wake you, since I didn't think you would enjoy waking up in the library in the morning. Yeah, that would be embarrassing, Bella agreed, although her blush suggested she was already quite embarrassed as it were. There's no reason to be embarrassed, I told her. If you're tired, you're tired. She sighed sadly. Making coffee is harder work than I thought it would be. I chuckled. Yeah, you kind of smell like coffee, too. That was a lie. She reeked of it. Of course, it wouldn't be quite so noticeable to a human. Bella grimaced. Great. At least you don't smell like French fries, I pointed out. Small favors, Bella muttered. I laughed again. Why don't I help you with all this? Maybe you'll get done faster, and if not, at least I can keep you awake. Bella smiled softly. You don't have to do that, Edward. I'm sure you have something better you could be doing than hanging out in the library with me. I shrugged. I came looking for you, didn't I? The location doesn't really make much of a difference. She smiled again. Well, I'd love the company if you want to stay. I'm working on a lit paper, though, so I don't think you could help much. I looked around, noticing that most of the books were literary criticism. Why don't you tell me your thesis? I can help research. Okay, she agreed with a grin. Happy to be talking about her favorite subject, I'm sure. Bella turned out to be writing about social critique in modernist poetry. It was an interesting enough subject, and I didn't mind the research, not being well acquainted with American modernism. I enjoyed taking in new information when the opportunity arose. We worked quietly for nearly 2 hours. I pointed out relevant passages to her, and she worked to create a very thorough outline for her paper. Finally, as the bell on campus chimed 12 times, Bella leaned back in her chair and stretched. I think that's enough for one night. Shouldn't take me long at all to write this paper tomorrow. I helped her put all her books back where they belonged. Would you like a ride back to your dorm? I offered as she was packing away her things. She bit her lip and looked shyly at me. Would you mind if maybe I stayed at your place tonight? I was surprised she worked up the nerve to ask. Did I want her to stay the night? She would likely fall asleep as soon as she hit the bed, so I obviously wasn't going to be doing what I wanted to do with her tonight, although her staying the night would mean she would be around in the morning, and there might be time then. Sure, although I'm curious as to why you want to. Won't it be more of a hassle for you in the morning? She frowned. I guess it'll be problematic for you too, taking me back in the morning. I shrugged. I don't mind. Not if there's morning shower sex. Like I said, I was just curious. She bit her lip. I kind of just want to be around you even if I'm sleeping. What could I say to that? I took her full backpack from her in lieu of responding and gestured for her to lead the way out of the library. She was familiar enough with my car by now to spot it right away and head for it without any direction. I walked along behind her, enjoying the sway of her hips. The drive was quiet. Every time I glanced over at Bella, her eyes were drooping. She definitely wouldn't be conscious much longer. Nevertheless, she was awake enough to make it up the stairs and into my bedroom. Can I borrow a shirt to sleep in? She asked, already kicking off her shoes. Yeah, second drawer, I told her, gesturing to my dresser. She patted over in her socks and fished out a soft t-shirt. I watched surreptitiously as she changed, and I shed my clothes as well. It was a special treat to watch the bra come off. What a pity she was so tired. Bella eventually crawled into the bed, wearing only my t-shirt and her panties. I wanted her badly, but I had a feeling not even the best sex in the world would keep her awake just now. Come to bed with me, she said sleepily, patting the space beside her. I acquiesced. It would be a bit odd for me to refuse to go to bed when it was past midnight, I supposed. I could always get up again when she was asleep, and so I slipped under the covers next to her, and she immediately nestled into my side. Warm. She fell asleep quickly, but I remained where I was for some time, relaxing under her warmth. I listened to the sounds of her soft breath and beating heart.